Back in Eugene, Oregon, ready now for the 10,000 meters. Sam Chalanga of Liberty, the collegiate record holder. Suleiman Niambui has the meet record from a long time ago. And this race featuring Alfred Chalanga of Alabama and Mark Scott of Tulsa. 24 finalists, just like both distance races, 5,000 and 10,000. Of course, you've had 24 entries in all the other events, and cutting down to 8 and to 12. As you see the competitors going by, 25 laps of the track. And as I mentioned before, the first time that the winner's name will not be Edward Cheserek, with an unfortunate injury that scratched him from the regionals 2 weeks ago. That is the mechanism by which you must qualify. There are no qualifying on times or at-larges that get you through to here. You have to compete at the regional level. If you do not compete there, you do not get to compete here.
At many meets during the year, Dwight, there is a tendency for the coaches, and they've kind of collectively decided that the top runners I have at 10,000 meters, I'm not going to run them more than 1 or 2 times during the outdoor season. This is a grind. This is a grueling thing. Cross country is a tough season. The races are usually shorter than a 10K, but they, in general, are around 5 miles and 8,000 meters or so. And you might run 6 or 7 of them during the course of your cross country season. And so this is the reason this is such a tough one. It takes a lot out of the body to push this hard for 10,000 meters, 6.2 miles. And so you have a regional competition, but there's a tendency to chase a fast time to be able to qualify to get to that regional, and then lay off this event and have the athletes run shorter races.
So Larry, do you think this is the best strategy for Alfred Chalanga to employ? Get out in front and see if anybody tries to challenge him?
Well, you know, I'm not sure, Dwight, about his exact speed and kick. I chatted with him yesterday. We had a nice conversation. And he was, you know, polite and didn't get into great details. He's almost a little bit shy, but he impresses you as being a very sharp guy. He's got an interesting pedigree and history. His dad's name is Joshua Chalanga, who finished 3rd in the Boston Marathon. Also won Rotterdam. He took 3rd in Boston in 2001. Dad never pushed him to run and said, you know, if you want to just do other things, whatever you want to do is fine. And by the time he was a senior in high school and had just graduated, he said, Dad, I'm ready to maybe give this a try. I'll just see what I can do. Now, his father's brother, you ready for this? How small is this world? His father's brother holds the national collegiate record in the United States for 10,000 meters, Sam Chalanga. So it's his uncle. In any event, Dad said, I'll help you. We'll work out some training for you. And the first time he ran 5,000 meters at altitude, he ran 15 minutes and 31 seconds. Very respectable. That's about a 5-minute mile pace for 3.1 miles at altitude. And he stuck with it and got better. He eventually decided to come to the United States and went to Shorter College down in Rome, Georgia, where he improved his times and kept working at it. And lo and behold, he gets offered a chance to come to college in Alabama, and he's now a junior. And he's got the fastest time of anybody in the field for this outdoor season, averaging right about 4 minutes and 31 seconds per mile for 6.2 miles.
So following closely behind, the freshman from Middle Tennessee State, Jacob Choga, and then his teammate at Alabama, the senior, Antibas Kazgay. And getting back to Cheserek, of course, this would have been the crowning achievement. He already has 17 total NCAA titles, 15 individual titles over cross-country, indoor, and outdoor track, and then 2 of those indoor titles are with the distance medley relay. But this was going to be the crowning achievement. Of course, he was disappointed during cross-country when he was going for his 4th straight NCAA cross-country title after winning 4 conference titles, and finished 3rd in that NCAA championship cross-country race. And then his back injury, they could not get him ready to run 2 weeks ago at the West Regional, and they had to withdraw him, and that ended his collegiate career.
The pace moderate, very unofficially around 4 minutes 45 seconds for the first 1,600 meters, almost a full mile. So nobody's pressing anything down here. At some point in time, somebody's got to make up their mind. Okay, this is slow enough. I'm not as fast as Chilanga is as far as, all out 10,000 meters, but we're now a third of the way into the race. Let's shake this thing up a little bit here, and let's step on the gas for a few laps and see how many people disappear.
Well, now that move's made and we're well into our running, let's step aside for a moment and catch you up on a little bit of field event action. Larry's got the men's hammer. For more of our coverage of the 2017 NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships from the middle of the men's 10,000 meters. But let's put a button on the Cheserek discussion. Here's his trophy case. 17 NCAA titles, the most of any track and field athlete ever, second only to Jenny Thompson in swimming. But it had to come to an abrupt end, unfortunately, because of an injury. Oregon head coach Robert Johnson said the decision not to run senior Edward Cheserek at the West Regionals was an unfortunate matter of timing.
This decision with Cheserek definitely came down to the wire, of course. You have this medical scratch that you have to report to the NCAA so they can, of course, fill that slot and call somebody else and say, hey, you're next man up, you're in the championship. And that's supposed to be done, I think it was 1 o'clock or 1 or 2 o'clock our time. And so it was 1:59 and we were still mulling over the decisions. Of course, we have umpteen x-rays, umpteen MRIs, practices here and there. He goes for practice, he does fine, he comes back, he's still a little sore. So we really did our due diligence in trying to see if we could get through this regional meet. Once again, we're continuing to talk and reference regionals. The bad thing about it is if we didn't have to go to that meet, Edward Cheserek would be running at the NCAA championship.
And with a little follow-up on our social media efforts, let's go downstairs to Jill Montgomery.
Well, and a very relevant question because King Ches is going to be sorely missed at this NCAA championship. At XJet Blitz wants to know, how is the distance scene going to shape up now that King Ches is no longer at the NCAA?
I think things are much more wide open, Jill, and will be for a while. I don't see Ed Cheserek on the scene immediately. I think he shocked everybody. He just kind of blew into town as a freshman and it never relinquished that pace and place that he had. It's just been an unbelievable time of success for Oregon and for him. So we'll see. Someone will emerge that will be successful, I think, Dwight. But there's no Cheserek immediately that comes to mind.
Yeah, when he went out and did what he did as a freshman, we started talking about, gee, maybe he can win a lot of NCAA titles. And I don't believe either one of us believed that he would do what he did do. And unfortunately, it caught up with him a little bit with injuries. I know he had suffered from some his junior year, but he managed to work through them. But they finally caught up with him here in his senior year. Back to the 10,000 meters, it's an all-SEC affair up front.
Antabaz Koske is loping along is the right phrase here. They've been running each lap in about 71 seconds. They stepped it up 1 or 2 laps to 69 seconds, and then have fallen back to 73 in the last one. And they're coming up on 5,000 meters, the halfway point. But this is very easy and comfortable for some of these guys. And they're playing into the hands of the guys who have good mile times, 1,500 meter times, that type of thing. We could see a fast last mile here by the rest of the crew.
It's Jacob Thompson of Kentucky there with the blue shorts and the white singlet in second place as Chilanga slips back against the rail to around 4th or 5th.
Thompson's an interesting story, but the bottom line is in high school he was a sub 4:07 miler, so he's got good speed, and he frequently runs for Kentucky distances that are shorter than this. He steps up here because he's got good stamina and he's a kicker. So we'll see how he fares here over the second half of this race. 13 laps to go.
Well, you can tell that the pace is not particularly challenging as the entire field, for the most part, is all contained within about 6 or 7 meters, which is why we're seeing a lot of the athletes going out into lane 2 and challenging going out in lane 3. So you can see that the pace is slowed. There's a lot of running left to go. So let's step aside for a moment and get it caught up on the men's javelin.
And his dad was a coach and knew all about the javelin. He's been around it for many, many years. And he winds up throwing on a second attempt 270 feet 11 inches. Competition still underway, and his lead is 19 feet.
So Kyrgios looks like he'll have that national title wrapped up. We will come back with more of the 10,000 meters. A little bit of change up front. We'll update you as soon as we return to Eugene. "10,000 meters continues, and 22 of the original 24 runners are all in that front pack, probably packed within 12 or so meters of each other.
Dwight, let me give everybody a bit of a quick recap. We talked about how slow it was and mentioned what the speed was per lap. The first 5,000 meters was a pedestrian 14 minutes 53 seconds. So, you know, you can double that and you're just a little bit under 30 minutes for this pace. Nobody has decided to push things here. We have exactly 8 laps to go. So for you mile aficionados, that works out to about 2 miles. They've done 4.2 so far. And the pace right now, Jacob Choga from Middle Tennessee State is out in the lead. Second is George Parsons from NC State. Third is Eric Peterson from Butler, and fourth is Mark Scott from Tulsa. We'll tell you more about him. He's had a very fine year. Antabaz Koske is right now in 5th place. The pace, again, still 69 seconds is what they're reeling off each lap on. For these guys, very comfortable.
So the only 2 athletes that are not in this front pack of 22 are 2 runners from Oklahoma State, both juniors. Hassan Abdi and Sylvester Barus are well back, but that'll show you how competitive this race has been so far, but the real running is probably still yet to be seen.
While we have a minute or two, I've been studying this stuff, Dwight, and I'm not going to get into a long dissertation on it, but it is, I think, very significant if you want to Google it, exercise in the brain, and there's a lot of studies coming out more and more now on running and what the benefits are. There are now studies that seem to show, coming out of Sloan Kettering Hospital, one of the major cancer centers here, that it's exercise programs after your cancer has gone into remission from breast, colon, and prostate cancer, and exercise programs you work at, the chances and the rate of it coming back if you are into an exercise program is less than the national average, even with cancer. So read up on it. It's great for kids. It seems to improve. Exercise does right through college from kids, memory and focus academically. But worth reading up on if you'd like to.
So as Middle Tennessee State freshman Jacob Choga continues to lead this 10,000. Back in Eugene, Oregon, for more of our coverage of the 2017 NCAA Track and Field Championships presented by Northwestern Mutual. We're in the final mile of this 10,000 meters, a little over 3.5 laps remaining, and we can probably expect to see a little bit of change in pace coming up here pretty soon, as a lot of the athletes jockeying position as Jacob Choga, the freshman from Middle Tennessee State University, slows things down a bit and makes it so athletes are having to run wide.
The pace here has quickened only slightly, 70 seconds per lap they've done. And that pace hasn't changed. Mark Scott from Tulsa, who I think is one of the co-favorites. Jacob Choga is right up there. Scott in blue. Eric Peterson. Reed Fisher from Drake has been maintaining a solid pace right up in the lead pack, and he is the cross-country conference champion, is Reed Fisher, for his Drake University guys. So let's keep an idea and see what's going on.
All right, less than 3 laps remaining. Let's go over to Larry for an update on what happened. Well, that's huge. 18 points for Florida versus 6 for A&M. I'm sure they didn't expect Holloway to perform like that at this level. He's had some good jumps, but even at the conference meet, he had a tough time. So he qualified in the hurdles by winning his heat, and then he comes back and gets second in the long jump for the Gators, putting them in a great position to defend their title. But lots can happen between now and all day on Friday, as we're now about a lap and a half away from the conclusion of this 10,000 meters, and lots has changed up front.
Yep, and the pace has quickened. They're dropping down to 67-second laps. And as we've got Butler right now showing the way.
It's Eric Peterson, the senior from Butler, and there's Mark Scott right in the position he wants to be in. You can see Alfred Chalanga starting to strain. He's well off the pace now and being passed by other runners.
And the chase is on here with 1 to go.
Mark Scott looks to be in a good position with 300 meters remaining. He looks like he wants to make a move, and there he does. There he goes. And he goes by with authority, looks back to see if there's a cover, and there isn't.
He's improved so much this year. He ran 13:43 for a 5K earlier. And his coach, Steve Gully, said to him, he talked his way into a scholarship, did this man, Mark Scott, coming in from Europe, and he said, I promise I will put the wood to everything, and he did. He's improved year over year over year, and they are going to present Tulsa with an NCAA title, it looks.
Mark Scott made the right move at the right time. As Rory Linkletter, the BYU sophomore, finishing second. That is Navy's Lucas Stallnacker. And Alfred Chalanga well back. He may have just barely scored a point for Alabama. The event favorites coming in. And boy, what a difference in the second 5,000 meters. Let's take a look at that kick. Mark Scott, with a little less than 300 meters to go, just put his head down and downshifted and put 10 meters on the rest of the field in nothing flat.
To show you the improvement, 4 years ago, this guy was not able to break 31 minutes for a 10K, and here he's easily just cruising along 2 minutes faster at a championship level. Look at him move. And if you're him, that's what you do. You say to yourself, I got plenty left. Do not fool around. Get as much on the field as you can. And he held off a late surge by Rory Linkletter.
So the senior from Tulsa wins the NCAA championships over Rory Linkletter of BYU and Eric Peterson of Butler getting third.